for this live. I'm going live to start today with the book we were just introducing how this is gonna be working. So we'll start with the book of Genesis. And before we get to the actual book, I want to read from the St. James Bible, the old one. Much details. There are so many things that I've seen in this Bible that I haven't seen, and it just goes to say that this may be very interesting for even people who know the Bible, who have the redacted. This is a very early King James, the Bible. And actually, maybe I should start. Did I read it the last time? So the Holy Bible, King James version. Hey, version. Let's go ahead and read summary of the book of Genesis, how it is put together here. Everything was shown. What is the intent of the book itself, of Genesis? The first version of the Bible, the law, contains books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy. Law, Torah in Hebrew, than it ordinarily conveys in English and means instruction. The Hebrew Bible is divided into law, prophets, and writers. The first 5 books are also called the Pentateuch. Pante, the Greek word for 5, and Tuchus, and in which the 5 scrolls were stored. The 5-fold known as early as the time of Folio and Josephus. I don't know. Where was I? Folio and Josephus. In the Hebrew Bible, the first book is called Bereshith, which means in the beginning, a name taken from the opening words of the book. The English Bible follows the Greek Bible made in Alexandria in the 3rd century BC. I want just time out there. The English Bible follows the Greek Bible made in Alexandria in the 3rd century and calls it Genesis, which means source or beginning. I just want to pause there or time out there because it says that Alexandria is in ancient Egypt, right? So here it says the English Bible follows the Greek Bible made in Alexandria in the 3rd century. So in the 3rd century, there was a translation of the Bible made in Alexandria. Let's just bear that in mind. It's a small detail, but very, very important. I'm going to underline it so that I can remember, right? Now, that's where the word Genesis comes from. That's where it was called Genesis. Now, the word occurs in the book several times, such as at Genesis chapter 2, verse 4a. Genesis is indeed the book of beginnings, for it recounts the beginning of the world, of man, of family life, of sin, of murder, of crafts, of the nations and other institutions and of the Hebrew race. Everybody and of the Hebrew race. Chapter and verse divisions in the English Bible are borrowed from the Vulgate. Genesis is divided into 50 chapters with 1,543 verses. I don't know why it is important to know that, but you know it now. Genesis has 50 chapters and 1,500 verses, a little bit more than 1,500 verses. It makes you, you know, a nerd when you know things like that. Not that it is very important, but we'll get to that. While there is no specific statement in the Bible declaring that Moses wrote Genesis, and while his name does not occur in the book, the law pre is frequently attributed to him. So here it says that in the Bible, there is no way it says that Moses wrote the 5 books of the Bible. And I know some of the explanations that are out there. I've heard this from someone, and I think this is what is widely believed, the source when how Moses wrote this. So when Moses went to get the 10 Commandments, he saw God appeared to him, but he didn't show his face, but showed his back to him, which is interpreted by some, I would say, some leaders or some Bible readers as showing him the past rather than the future, because Moses could not handle the future. That's an explanation. I mean, to each their own, but St. James Bible says there is nowhere in the Bible where it is said that Moses wrote the book of Genesis. So I will move on to the next part. Genesis spans a longer period of time than any other book in the Bible. It covers from the creation of the world until the death of Joseph at the beginning of the Egyptian sojourn. So Genesis goes from the beginning of the world until Joseph dies. It is not designed to be a complete history of either human origin or of the Hebrew race, but is a selected group of episodes from history told with a religious purpose. A religious purpose. Just note here that it says it was not done for a spiritual purpose. It is done for a religious purpose. These stories are told for a religious purpose, not as for a spiritual purpose. And the stories are one of my good friend recently shocked me when I told him, so Adam and Eve, what nationality were they? And he told me he was Jew. And I said, this guy, even the Jews themselves, they don't say it, but you just infer that this is the case. Anyway, many details are omitted. The book reveals a progressively narrowing point of interest. It just comes like this, and then it goes. Genesis 1 to 11 concerns the history of mankind, revealing that the human family comes from a common stock. All men are brothers in origin. That's the story that the book of Genesis wants to show. Not that it was the first man or the first woman had a certain nationality. And people get lost, like this good friend of mine who is really a religious person, thirsty. So that was Genesis 1 to 11, right? It concerns the history of mankind and it goes narrowly. Genesis 12 to 50, remember we said it has 50 chapters, deals with the family of Abraham, which has been chosen for a special divine purpose, fitting into God's special plan, are soon dropped from. Oh no, I skipped something there. Genesis 12 to 50 deals with the family of Abraham, which has been chosen for a special divine purpose. Those descendants of Abraham not fitting into God's special plan are soon dropped from discussion. So, one thing it says, Abraham had other descendants. And these descendants' history is just dropped and just pursued with one of the Abrahamic descendant. So, and we will get to who are those descendants. And most people talk about the Arabs as being the descendant of Abraham. And that is the fact because, like a lot of things, I heard that there is a place in Mecca that you cannot go. That's the place that is believed that Abraham was thirsty there and he was looking for water, and a fountain appeared miraculously, and that water space is still um, real until today, but you cannot go there unless you're a Muslim. So those are other descendants of Abraham are dropped in the book of Genesis, right? Now, after that, 11 times the phrase, these are the generations of, is used to mark 11 major sections of the book. The five principal person dealt, the five principal persons deal dealt with are Adam, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Three distinct periods can be seen within Genesis: the antediluvian, the postdiluvian, and the patriarchal. The promise to Abraham of Genesis chapter 12, 1 to 3, is crucial to an understanding of the rest of the Bible, for it is the backbone of the whole. Ooh, hallelujah. I didn't know this. So you have to understand. So the promise to Abraham of Genesis chapter 12, 1 to 13, is crucial to an understanding of the rest of the Bible, for it is its backbone. It's the backbone of the whole book. If you do not understand the promise that was made to Abraham, it is more likely that you will not, and you have missed the whole Bible. I repeat again. This is St. James' translation of the Bible. And it says you have to understand that. And I really want to understand that in every angle possible. One, so this is the understanding of the promise to Abraham. One, Abraham is to be blessed. Two, he is to be made into a nation. Three, his descendants are to have a land, right? They don't say which descendants. It doesn't say which nation, but he had more than one line of descendants. In his seed will all nations be blessed. Four things that are very crucial. Now, how God worked to carry out one by one of these is the story of the Bible. So, the story of the Bible is how God carried out one by one of these promises, these four promises. And you have to remember, Abraham has to be blessed. You have to bless. You have to bless Abraham. He is to be made a nation. He has to be a nation. His descendants are to have a land. That's three. And his seed will, in his seed, will all nations be blessed. That is profound. So the whole history of mankind is narrowed down to this, and I can get it. And as I said before, it's like I am looking at these scriptures with a really Afro-centric view. And my question right now is like, how has it been that we, people of African descent, have been blessed through the seed of Abraham? Interesting question. Because we can really say that a lot of other nations, one way or another, have benefited from the output um, of the descendants of Abraham. I just can't picture how that I don't have any life experience except one. In my home country, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, there is a guy called, I don't remember his name, but he used to be governor of the province of Katanga, Moise Katumbi. And it is said that he is of a Jewish origin, at least his mother, and his father is Congolese. And um, to his point, it seems like he was a very good governor in terms of like creating infrastructure and building locally, rather than just putting everything outside of the country. So that's my only recollection of our blessing from the seed of Abraham. And maybe we will see more in the Bible as we go, but recent history, and I'm not that old or wise or informed to know exactly everything that has been happening for us as a result of that blessing or that promise to Abraham. And if that is the case, and I think I'm not the only one who feels like that. And to some extent, I think I'm a little bit more privileged than the majority of people from, let's say, my home country, and who would agree with me that their day-to-day lives is not a reflection of a certain blessing through the seed of Abraham. So if that is the truth, then we can say that this promise so far has failed us one way or another. And there is more work that has to be done. And probably why this promise has failed us. Because other people may recall certain advantages that they got from it. Anyway, let's continue. So that was um, the history of the Bible. It's about how God uh, carried out these promises one by one. Now, the last is the first is the story of Genesis. The second is, and third are, I lost you there. So it was on the at the section where in his seed will all nations be blessed. How God worked to carry out one by one is the story of the Bible. The first is the story of Genesis. The second and the third are seen in the books from Genesis to Joshua. The last is the remainder of the Old Testament. So the rest of the Old Testament is add-on. Now, that's why we'll just consider probably the first five. And comes to its culmination in the appearance of Jesus. The doctrine of the doctrine of creation of Genesis is a great declaration of faith. The world is not self-existent, nor an accident, nor the work of a rival power. It is the result of the creative work of God expressed through His Word. As He made it, it was very good. The intent was very good. And He used His Word. That's why sometimes you see the Western world, especially the Word or the First Amendment in the US is, freedom of expression, I believe. And it's to place an emphasis to the word. And I have I have a nuanced appreciation of that fact. And it will come as we are reading the book of Genesis. Man bearing the image of God is the climatic creative act of God. God thereby has a claim upon the service of all mankind. The God who made the world is the God who has revealed himself in the deeds and words of the Old Testament. This is a self-proclamation. It's like the God who made it all is the one that expressed himself or revealed himself in the Old Testament, and we accept that. Since he made the world, it should be run in keeping with his will. If he made it, he can at his pleasure bring it to an end and call man into judgment. Archaeology has rendered a great service to the study of the patriarchal age. While the specific name of any patriarch has not yet been found, the customs of patriarchal time regarding adoption, blessings, birthrights, marriage to handmaids, marriage to a brother's wife, possession of household gods, possession of household gods. What is that? Gods. So Gods here is in plural, like many gods. I'll repeat that. While the specific name of any patriarch has not been yet found, the customs of the patriarchal times regarding adoption, blessings, birthrights, marriage to handmaids, marriage to handmaids, marriage to a brother's wife, possession of household gods. Okay, people possessing household gods. Everybody has their deities. There were many. And similar matters which are found in the patriarchal stories are known to have been practiced by the neighbors of the patriarchs in Nuzu and Mari. Civilizations of people such as the Amorites, Hurrians, Horites, Hittites, no, Hittites, say Hittites. There's a joke. Um, there was someone, I spoke French, and we were talking about uh, what the Bible names in English and 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 French. It's similar, but it came to Titus, and I was like, Titus, what is Titus? And he showed me the spot, and I said, oh, teeth. I said, oh, so Titus is teeth in French? And I say, yes. I say, no wonder it is Titus. So then I didn't get it. Then when I started understanding English a little bit more, and I said, oh, Titus. It was bad. I see titties in the Bible. No, can't have that. So that's the joke. I hope it made me laugh, but maybe it's funny. Um, anyway, so these things were common in the civilization. The Hittites, the Canaanites, the Sumerian, called Shinar. So when you see Shinar in Genesis, that's the Sumerian. Egyptian and Aramean are now well known. Ur of the Chaldees, from which Abraham is said to have migrated, has been excavated by Leonard Woolley. Patriarchal names such as Nahor, Haram, and Jacob are known to have been place names. This is important. I saw this and I was like, yes, these places, look, these names, there is in their what is that word? Archaeology, as they are digging up these places, they have never seen the names that have been given to these patriarchs, right? But rather, certain places have those names, right? And what came to mind was Cush, the Cushites. And there is someone that was named Cush in the Bible. We will get to that because I've got a revelation on that. And we know in Africa, the Cushites are, we have a border with them in Congo. That is the now South Sudan. It was Sudan. I don't know why they cut it into two pieces, but that is another story. So these are names of places that these patriarchs have taken or have been given these names in the Bible as we go. Right? This is not me saying that. This is in the King James Bible, the one you don't have, that I have. Um, these materials have caused many students to abandon the radical denial of the historicity of the patriarchal narratives, which was set forth by J. Wellhausen. J. Wellhausen. It seemed like it was the guy who was either um, spearheaded these narratives or was opposed to them one way or another. And that, my friends, is the summary of the book of Genesis, according to the St. James translation of the Bible. So, what we will do now, next time, which will be, so we do live Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So, on Wednesday, we'll be live and we will read a portion of the book of Genesis and start there. The intent here again is to just go on this journey, however casual this may seem, and explore these narratives in a Afro-centric manner and see what is our place in the history or in the major religions, because we are a people whose history has been erased, and it is fitting to understand what is being said about other people, um, especially from an authority like the Bible, and try to see, because it says that God is not partial, but in every nation, who whoever worships him will find favor in his eyes. So that impartiality that he has is really something that will help us find our our roots in these in these narratives and try to build our own. And I know there are many others who have done this and who are doing this, which is very commendable. And I have drawn from many greats who have um, shed some lights on certain things that I didn't understand at all. And I am very confident that by exploring these and looking and asking for um, guidance as to how we understand these stories and how we find our place, it will be tremendously beneficial for us to find some sort of healing, some sort of path, some sort uh, uh, of dignity, because um, what is happening is not optimal, to say the least. And I'm gonna put in a plug, shamelessly plug in the information sessions that we run to empower people of African descent, and we run them on Tuesdays during the in the evening, and Thursdays during the day. So um, the website or the link will be posted below here. You just click on the link and you will find which one that is available for you to jump in and learn how we can narrow the wealth gap between us and other racial groups in North America. So with that, thank you very much, and we'll see you again in 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 2 days. So that will be on Wednesday. Today's Monday. Thank you. Bye bye. See you. See you later.